Explosives charges laid against Ottawa miner accused of terrorism. Well, Liberal MPs ask universities of calling for genocide violates school codes. This is the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the system. Never going home. I'm in love.
So over the weekend, a Ottawa miner was accused of terrorism and had explosive charges laid against him. He faces 5 total charges after Monday court appearance. And he's charged with terrorism-related offenses for allegedly targeting Jewish people. Last week, faces 3 more charges, including 2 for being in possession of control of explosives. How would he get those? Well, I guess so. The RCMP said they executed a search warrant on the youth's residence, which uncovered materials used in creating explosive substances. The youth have been charged with facilitation of a terrorist activity by communicating instructional material related to an explosive substance, having instructed someone, directly or indirectly, to carry out terrorist activity against Jewish persons. So the accused was arrested on Friday, and their age prevents any further release of information. Another idiot, stupid kid. And this is all because Hamas decided things were getting a little too quiet, and no one was paying them any attention. So they launched a surprise attack on October 7th to kill as many Jews as they possibly can before scurrying back to their holes, which launched a major Israeli response, which is justifiable. While Hamas is hiding in tunnels underneath hospitals and mosques and schools and other places, their own people are suffering badly. And they don't care as long as it brings to light their plight. So now we got the Palestinian movement to the fore instead of the Ukrainian problem, which I find has further implications. This doesn't really surprise me that this happens in Canada. Like Liberal MPs ask universities if calling for genocide of Jews violates school codes. What fucking planet are you from? Letter comes after heads of U.S. schools face similar questions. When they mean the river to the sea, that means the complete, and for many Muslims, that means the complete annihilation of the Jewish people. All you have to do is look at the Muslim sources. So 5 Liberal members of Parliament are asking 25 Canadian university presidents to say whether calling for genocide against Jewish people or the elimination of Israel violates their school policies. Remember, in the minds of the people of the Palestinians and the Muslims of that area, that means Israel no longer exists. Which is kind of funny because the Quran states that the children of Israel have their own place. So they're going against their own religion. But oh well. This is what happens when we bring so many Muslims into our country. This is going to happen. Islam is a political ideology. It is not a religion per se. And it's the Jewish question really drives the Muslims nuts for some reason. I think it's because of jealousy, because the Jewish people of Israel have made a really nice country. It is the shining example of what could be. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Like Canada, we're not perfect. We're doing a hell of a lot better than most Middle East countries. The river to the sea means exactly what it sounds like. It's a genocidal term. Some people don't understand that, but that's what it means in the context of most Muslims. And our universities have become battlegrounds. And the fact that our universities have become battlegrounds for this question, when it shouldn't be. This is not part of Canadian society. This is something that belongs over there, not here. They brought their problem here. In Montreal, McGill University asked a group called Solidarity for Palestinian Human Rights, McGill, to drop the reference to the university from its name after it characterized Hamas's October 7th surprise attack on Israel as heroic on social media. Yeah, it's pretty heroic to behead, to murder babies and take hostages. Yeah, that's pretty heroic. Instead of fighting a conventional war which they go against civilians. They're terrorists. 4 pro-Palestinian groups, including the one in question, later pushed back, saying they were not celebrating violence, but rather looking at the prospect of liberation. Liberation from what? Gaza is an independent city-state. Who are they liberating? Who? Hamas enslaves their own people, holds them in back. So the Quebec Superior Court issued an order to temporarily block a McGill University student group from ratifying a policy that a large majority of students approved in a recent referendum. Really? When I went to university, we hardly voted for anything. 20,000 students and maybe only 500 would vote for anything. The policy pressed the school administration to condemn what it called a genocidal bombing campaign against Gaza and to cut ties with corporations and institutions that are complicit in settler-colonialism or apartheid. Throwing that apartheid name, eh? Israel is not an apartheid state. How many Jews live in Gaza? How many Jews live in Muslim countries around the world? Not many. How many Muslims live in Israel? A lot. And they have full rights. Settler colonialism. They conveniently forget that many Arabs that lived in that region also arrived from other places during the British Mandate. Many Arabs settled in that region. Just to look at their last names and find out where they're from. So we got hostile environments in some classrooms and in the form of other student groups and associations. Islam is very politicalized. Muslims are very politically active in Canada. You have to understand that Islam, there's no separation of mosque and state in Islam. What we call church and state in Christianity, which we've long separated from. Islam does not do that. Islam is very political, and it shows. And Canada is a very apolitical country in a lot of ways. Most people don't care. Canada's UN ambassador defends UN votes because Trudeau buckled under the pressure of the pro-Palestinian mob, who continued to press for change in demonstrations all around Canada, and because wealthy Muslims in Canada pulled their financial support from the Liberal Party. And we got this call for ceasefire. Is that going to work? No, they're going to go for more. So hundreds protest outside Trudeau event in Vancouver to call an end to military support for Israel. He's speaking at a private Liberal fundraiser because he needs money now that the Muslims have pulled out. Hundreds of pro-Palestinian demonstrators gathered outside the downtown Vancouver hotel to pressure him to cut off Canadian military support for Israel. That is a foreign policy concern. Right now, the Canadian government needs hard dollars through military industry. And again, I see many of these so-called Palestinian flags. I don't see a Canadian flag among them. And some Jewish groups also joined. That's interesting. Considering how the Palestinians want their expulsion from Israel, they're stupid. Independent Jewish Voices. Good work. The demonstration organized by the grassroots group Independent Jewish Voices called on Canada to end military support for Israel. Really disenchanted, disenfranchised Jewish people. That's stupid as hell. Remember, there will be no two-state solution. In my view, the two-state solution is the West Bank and Gaza. So he met privately Jewish and Muslim leaders in Vancouver earlier, so he's got to schmooze both sides. Jews says stop the genocide in our name. It's no one's calling out Hamas. None of these groups are. They're not calling out Hamas for their violence. It's just stupid how. And the problem with young Muslims in Canada today is that they're brainwashed by their own religious leaders in the mosque, and at home they brought this with them. And it goes on. Like, they can do that. They can follow the Prime Minister around and protest outside where he is. But the truckers, they get blamed they're in a class suit right now because of what they did. Did the protesters mean harm? That's the heart of bid to toss convoy class action. These people were actual Canadians protesting what the government was doing within Canada. This is protesting something that's happening across the world, and Canada has nothing. Even if we pulled our military support, the United States has shipped a lot of it. Israel makes a lot of it. They make a lot of their own. The only thing the U.S. really provides Israel with is the Iron Dome, the missile system that helps intercept rockets that are fired against their cities. They're just protecting themselves. Israel makes some really fine military equipment. Let's put it that way. So what's the difference? They're doing the same thing. They're hounding Trudeau, trying to get him to pressure him. He buckled once, and that's the thing. Once you give in once, then they're gonna keep doing it. They'll keep pressing. They're not gonna stop, and eventually it'll come down to the point where they're gonna ask for Canadian soldiers to go down there, which is then when Canadians will wake up and say, "No, we're not doing that." This is why I supported the truckers. Because they were trying to protest against government action. Here we got people who are protesting someone else's action across the world. Trudeau didn't even meet these people, didn't even talk to them, didn't acknowledge them, didn't give in. But he gave in to these people. Again, not a Canadian flag among them. So we'll see what happens with this terrorist charge. This is, again, you don't see Jewish people running around killing Muslims in Canada or anywhere else in the world. France and Germany, they arrested some Muslim terrorists, Muslim extremists who are going to plot to kill Jews across Europe. They're trying to make it about them, and it's not going to happen. Israel is here to stay, and it's time for the Arabs of that region to get on with, to accept that and try and build something better for what they have. And don't bring your problems to Canada. So we'll see what happens with this one. And hopefully Canada doesn't buckle the Canadian government doesn't buckle anymore to the pro-Muslim mob. But any Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear from a Muslim. Let me know what you guys think about the whole pro-Palestinian movement within Canada and how much it's pressured us. And what should we do to combat it? Leave comments in the comment section. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the system.